Imagine a girl named Maya. She was 10 years old, with bright eyes that sparkled when she smiled. Maya loved to laugh and play with her friends. But what Maya loved most of all was skateboarding. She practiced every day after school, trying to learn new tricks. She wore colorful sneakers and always had her hair in braids. Maya was also very special. Her dad wasn't just any dad. He was the President of the United States. But Maya didn't want everyone to treat her differently because of that. She wanted to be a normal kid, go to a normal school, and have normal friends. So, she kept her dad's job a secret from almost everyone. Only a few trusted people knew. Living a double life wasn't always easy. Secret Service agents were always nearby, watching over her without being too obvious. It was like having invisible friends. They kept her safe. But sometimes Maya wished she could just be herself, without anyone watching. She just wanted to be Maya, the girl who loved to skateboard, not the president's daughter. The hardest part about keeping her dad's secret was explaining why she couldn't always do the same things as her friends. Sleepovers were a no-go, and spontaneous trips to the ice cream shop were often out of the question. Maya would have to make up excuses, telling little white lies to protect her dad's privacy and her own desire for normalcy. Her dad, President Thompson, understood her struggle. He'd always encouraged her to pursue her passions, even if it meant navigating the challenges of being a first daughter. He knew Maya was smart, kind, and capable of handling anything. He just wished he could protect her from the downsides of his job. President Thompson made sure to spend as much quality time with Maya as possible. They'd have secret movie nights in the White House, play board games, and he'd even try, and usually fail, to keep up with her on a skateboard. These moments were precious to both of them, a reminder that even in the midst of political turmoil, family always came first. He always told her, "Be yourself, Maya. Don't let anyone change who you are." One sunny afternoon, Maya decided to meet her friends, Sarah and David, at the local park. It was a perfect day for skateboarding. The park had smooth concrete paths and a small skate ramp that Maya and her friends loved. She put on her favorite purple helmet, grabbed her skateboard, and told her Secret Service detail that she was heading out. They nodded, discreetly following her at a distance. Sarah and David were already at the park, practicing their own skateboarding tricks. Sarah was trying to ollie over a small bench, while David was working on his kickflip. Maya grinned, eager to join them. "Hey guys!" Maya shouted, pushing off on her skateboard. "Maya, you made it!" Sarah exclaimed, nearly losing her balance. "We were just about to try that new trick we saw online," David said, pointing to a complicated series of jumps and grinds. Maya's eyes lit up. "Awesome! Let's do it!" She was excited to try something new with her friends, feeling like just a regular kid for a little while. This was what she loved most, the freedom and fun of skateboarding with her friends, forgetting about the weight of her secret for a few precious hours. They spent the next hour practicing the new trick. It involved skating up the ramp, doing a little jump, and then landing smoothly on the other side. It was harder than it looked. Maya fell a few times, scraping her knee, but she didn't give up. Sarah and David cheered her on, offering tips and encouragement. "You got this, Maya," Sarah yelled. "Just bend your knees more," David added. Maya took a deep breath and tried again. This time, she almost made it. She landed a little wobbly, but she stayed on her board. "Yes, almost," she shouted, pumping her fist in the air. Suddenly, the sound of screeching tires broke the happy atmosphere. A police car pulled up to the curb, and two officers stepped out. They looked stern and serious. Maya, Sarah, and David exchanged nervous glances. They hadn't done anything wrong, had they? The fun, carefree afternoon was about to take an unexpected turn. The air crackled with tension, replacing the light-hearted joy with a sense of unease. What did the police want? The taller of the two officers, a man with a serious face and a booming voice, walked towards them. His partner, a woman with a stern expression, followed close behind. "All right, kids," the taller officer said, his voice echoing across the park. "We've received a complaint about skateboarding in this area." Maya frowned. But there aren't any signs that say we can't skateboard here, she pointed out, her voice trembling slightly. Doesn't matter, the officer replied, waving his hand dismissively. Someone complained, so you need to pack it up and leave. Sarah stepped forward, her hands on her hips. But we weren't bothering anyone. We were just practicing. The female officer crossed her arms. The rules are the rules. No skateboarding allowed. David chimed in. Where are we supposed to skateboard then? There's no skate park nearby. The taller officer sighed, clearly annoyed. That's not our problem. Just leave. Their initial approach was cold and inflexible, showing no willingness to understand the kid's perspective. The situation was quickly escalating from a simple misunderstanding to a tense confrontation. Look, we're just trying to have some fun, Maya pleaded, her voice rising slightly. We're not hurting anyone. Can't you just let us finish practicing? The taller officer scoffed. Fun? This isn't about fun. It's about following the rules. And the rules say no skateboarding here. He took a step closer to Maya, his shadow looming over her. But it's not fair, Sarah exclaimed, her voice shaking with frustration. We always come here, and no one has ever said anything before. The female officer rolled her eyes. Well, someone said something now, so you need to listen up. Their dismissive attitude and refusal to listen made Maya and her friends feel small and insignificant. It was as if their voices didn't matter. Maya felt a surge of anger building inside her. She knew it wasn't right to be treated this way. They weren't criminals. They were just kids trying to enjoy their afternoon. The officer's lack of empathy was making the situation even worse, creating a feeling of injustice and resentment. The disguised Secret Service agent watched carefully, assessing the situation. All right, that's it, the taller officer said, his patience wearing thin. We're giving you one last chance. Leave now, or we're confiscating your skateboards. Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. You can't do that. This is my skateboard. I paid for it with my own money. It doesn't matter who paid for it, the officer retorted. Skateboarding is not allowed here, and if you don't comply, we're taking them. David stepped in front of Maya, trying to reason with the officers. Please, sir, can't you just give us a warning? We'll leave right away. We promise. The female officer shook her head. We've already given you enough chances. Now hand over the skateboards. The threat to take away their skateboards was the last straw. Maya refused to let them take her prized possession. No. You're not taking my skateboard, she shouted, clutching it tightly. This defiant act ignited a full-blown argument, with raised voices and escalating tension. The Secret Service agent tensed, ready to intervene if necessary. The situation was spiraling out of control. The taller officer, frustrated by Maya's resistance, reached out to grab the skateboard. Maya, determined to hold on, pulled back with all her might. In the struggle, the officer's hand slipped, accidentally catching the hem of Maya's skirt and pulling it upwards. A gasp escaped Maya's lips. She instinctively dropped the skateboard and yanked her skirt back down, her face burning with humiliation and anger. The officer froze, his eyes widening in shock. He hadn't meant for that to happen. Sarah and David were stunned into silence, their eyes fixed on Maya and the officer. The Secret Service agent started moving forward, his face grim. The park suddenly seemed to fall silent, the sounds of birds chirping and children playing fading into the background. All eyes were on Maya, who stood there, mortified and trembling. The accidental exposure had transformed the already tense situation into something far more serious and disturbing. The officer's clumsy attempt to seize the skateboard had resulted in a deeply inappropriate and upsetting moment. Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. She felt exposed and violated. It wasn't just about the skateboard anymore. It was about her dignity and her right to be treated with respect. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to shield herself from the stares of the officers and anyone else who might have witnessed the incident. Sarah and David, witnessing their friend's distress, were filled with anger. They glared at the officers, their faces contorted with rage. "What did you do that for?" Sarah shouted, her voice trembling with fury. "You had no right to touch her like that." David stepped forward, his fists clenched. "You should be ashamed of yourselves. She's just a kid." The female officer looked flustered, while the taller officer seemed to shrink under their accusing gazes. The Secret Service agent quickened his pace, knowing he had to act quickly to de-escalate the situation and protect Maya. He could see the raw emotion on the children's faces and knew this incident would have lasting consequences. He needed to end this now. Just as David seemed ready to confront the officers physically, a man in a park worker's uniform stepped forward. He had been sweeping leaves nearby, seemingly unnoticed, but his eyes had been intently focused on the unfolding drama. This was Agent Miller, one of Maya's most trusted Secret Service protectors. "Excuse me, officers," Agent Miller said, his voice calm but firm. "I think there's been a misunderstanding here." He subtly flashed his badge. The officers immediately straightened up, their demeanor shifting from aggressive to cautious. They recognized the authority in Agent Miller's voice and the glint of the badge. Agent Miller knelt down beside Maya, his voice gentle. "Maya, are you all right?" He kept his voice low so the other park-goers wouldn't hear. Maya nodded weakly, still clutching her arms around herself. Agent Miller knew he had to end this quickly and discreetly, before the situation escalated further and before Maya's identity was revealed to the world. He looked at the officers with a stern expression. He was about to reveal who Maya really was. Agent Miller stood up, his gaze fixed on the two officers. He spoke clearly and deliberately, making sure every word carried weight. "Officers," he said, "do you know who this young lady is?" The taller officer shifted uncomfortably. We don't, sir." Agent Miller paused for effect, then dropped the bombshell. "This is Maya Thompson. She's the president's daughter." The officers' jaws dropped. Their eyes widened in disbelief. The color drained from their faces. They looked at Maya, then back at Agent Miller, then back at Maya again, as if trying to process the impossible. The president's daughter?" The female officer stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. The taller officer looked like he was about to faint. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. They had just manhandled and humiliated the president's daughter. The realization of their mistake hit them like a ton of bricks. The park suddenly seemed very, very small. Their careers flashed before their eyes. What had they done? The taller officer, his voice trembling, stammered, "Miss Thompson, I am so sorry. We had no idea. Please forgive us." He looked genuinely remorseful, his earlier arrogance completely gone. The female officer, equally flustered, added, "Yes, Miss Thompson, we would never have treated you that way if we had known." She avoided making eye contact, her face flushed with shame. They both began apologizing profusely, tripping over their words in their haste to express their regret. Their tone had completely changed from rude and dismissive to overly polite and obsequious. They offered to return the skateboard, offered to escort Maya home, offered to do anything to make amends. Agent Miller watched them carefully, his expression unreadable. He knew their apologies were motivated by self-preservation rather than genuine remorse. But he also knew it was important to de-escalate the situation and protect Maya from further distress. He raised a hand, silencing their frantic apologies. "That's enough," he said firmly. "The damage has been done." He knew that Maya was still upset, and they needed to handle the situation with care. Agent Miller turned his attention back to Maya, who was still visibly shaken. He knelt down beside her again, his voice soft and reassuring. "Maya, it's going to be all right. I'm here. You're safe." He gently guided her away from the officers and towards a quieter part of the park, away from prying eyes. He offered her a bottle of water from his backpack and encouraged her to take deep breaths. "Just breathe, Maya," he said calmly. "Everything is going to be okay." He knew that Maya valued her privacy and independence, so he tried to comfort her without being overbearing. He reminded her that she was strong and resilient and that this incident didn't define her. He also assured her that he would take care of everything and that her dad would be informed about what happened. Slowly, Maya began to calm down. The tears still stung her eyes, but her breathing became more regular. Agent Miller's presence was a source of comfort and security. She trusted him implicitly, knowing he would always protect her. He was more than just a Secret Service agent. He was a friend. He helped her to regain her composure and face the situation with newfound strength. He knew that this incident would be a turning point in her life. Even though Agent Miller tried to handle the situation discreetly, word of the incident began to spread. People in the park had witnessed parts of the confrontation, and rumors started to fly. Some had seen the officer's aggressive behavior, others had seen Agent Miller's intervention, and a few had overheard snippets of conversation revealing Maya's identity. Sarah and David, still furious about what had happened, started texting their friends, recounting the events of the afternoon. Soon, the story was circulating among their classmates and throughout the community. Then, someone who had been in the park posted about the incident on social media, describing the encounter with the police and mentioning that the girl involved was rumored to be the president's daughter. The post quickly went viral. Within hours, news outlets were picking up the story. President's daughter involved in incident at local park? Headlines blared. The internet exploded with speculation and outrage. Some people criticized the police for their heavy-handed tactics, while others questioned why the president's daughter was skateboarding in a public park without proper security. Maya's desire for a normal life was about to be shattered. The world was about to learn her secret. President Thompson was in the middle of a crucial meeting with his advisors when Agent Miller contacted him, relaying the details of the incident at the park. At first, he was simply concerned about Maya's well-being. But as he learned more about the officer's rude behavior and the accidental pulling up of Maya's skirt, his concern quickly turned to fury. He couldn't believe that his daughter, a bright and innocent child, had been subjected to such disrespect and humiliation. The thought of her feeling scared and violated filled him with rage. He excused himself from the meeting, his face grim. He immediately called Maya, his voice filled with worry. "Maya, honey, are you okay? I just heard what happened." Maya's voice trembled as she recounted the events of the afternoon. Hearing the pain and distress in his daughter's voice fueled President Thompson's anger even further. He vowed to make sure that those officers were held accountable for their actions. He also knew he had to address the nation and reassure them that he would not tolerate such behavior from law enforcement. He knew Maya just wanted to be a regular kid, but that seemed impossible now. That evening, President Thompson addressed the nation from the Oval Office. He spoke with a mixture of anger and sadness, his words carefully chosen to convey his message of justice and compassion. "My fellow Americans," he began, his voice somber. "Today, I want to talk to you about an incident that happened this afternoon involving my daughter Maya." He recounted the events at the park, emphasizing the officer's initial rudeness and the accidental pulling up of Maya's skirt. He made it clear that he was deeply disturbed by the officer's behavior and that he would not tolerate such treatment of any child, regardless of their background or social status. "Every child deserves to be treated with respect and dignity," he said, his voice rising with passion. "They deserve to feel safe and protected in their communities. We must teach our law enforcement officers to approach every situation with understanding and empathy, especially when dealing with young people." He announced that he had ordered a full investigation into the incident and that the officers involved would be held accountable for their actions. He ended his speech with a call for unity and understanding, urging Americans to come together to create a society where all children are valued and respected. His speech resonated deeply with the nation. Following President Thompson's address, the police department swiftly announced that the 2 officers involved in the incident at the park had been placed on administrative leave, pending a thorough investigation. This meant they were temporarily relieved of their duties and would not be allowed to patrol or interact with the public while the investigation was underway. The investigation would examine all aspects of the incident, including the officers' initial approach to Maya and her friends, their handling of the skateboarding complaint, and the accidental pulling up of Maya's skirt. Witnesses would be interviewed, and video footage from security cameras in the park would be reviewed. The police department emphasized its commitment to fairness and transparency, promising to release the findings of the investigation to the public once it was completed. They also expressed their regret for the incident and their commitment to ensuring that all officers are trained to treat all members of the community with respect and dignity. The community waited anxiously for the results of the investigation, hoping that justice would be served. The officers faced an uncertain future, their careers hanging in the balance. Although the incident at the park was a traumatic experience, Maya refused to let it define her. Instead, she decided to use her newfound platform to advocate for positive change. She realized that her voice could make a difference and that she could help prevent similar incidents from happening to other children. With her father's support, Maya began speaking out about the importance of respectful policing and positive community relations. She gave interviews to news outlets, sharing her story and emphasizing the need for law enforcement officers to treat all members of the community with fairness and dignity. She also started working with local organizations to promote understanding and empathy between young people and police officers. She participated in community events, meeting with police officers and sharing her perspective. She talked about the importance of listening to young people's concerns and treating them with respect, regardless of their background. She showed great maturity and wisdom. The world was inspired by her courage and determination. Maya was becoming a powerful voice for change. Maya's advocacy work didn't stop with speaking engagements and community events. She wanted to create lasting change that would impact police training and community relations for years to come. She approached her dad with an idea: to develop programs that would help police officers better understand young people and different communities. President Thompson was incredibly proud of Maya's initiative and immediately agreed to support her. Together, they worked with experts in law enforcement, education, and community relations to design innovative training programs. These programs focused on teaching police officers about adolescent development, cultural sensitivity, and effective communication techniques. They also included opportunities for officers to interact with young people from diverse backgrounds, allowing them to build relationships and break down stereotypes. Maya even suggested incorporating skateboarding into the training programs, teaching officers about the skateboarding culture and the importance of providing safe spaces for young people to pursue their passions. The programs were implemented in police departments across the country, helping to foster a new era of respectful policing and positive community relations. Maya was truly making a difference. Even with her busy schedule of advocacy work and community outreach, Maya never gave up her love for skateboarding. It remained her passion, her escape, and her way of connecting with her friends. However, something had changed. She no longer saw skateboarding as just a fun hobby. It was now a symbol of her resilience, her determination to overcome adversity, and her commitment to making a positive impact on the world. She understood that her unique position as the president's daughter gave her a platform to speak out for others and to advocate for change. When she skated, she remembered the incident at the park and the injustice she had experienced. But she also remembered the support she had received from her friends, her family, and her community. She knew that she wasn't alone and that she had the power to make a difference. She continued to practice her tricks, pushing herself to improve, but now with a greater sense of purpose and understanding of her role in the world. She wasn't just skateboarding. She was skateboarding for change. The Secret Service still followed her, but now they understood her purpose too. Years later, Maya is seen at a community skate park, surrounded by a group of children of all backgrounds. She's teaching them how to skateboard, sharing her passion and her skills with the next generation. She's patient and encouraging, offering tips and words of encouragement. "Bend your knees," she calls out to a young girl struggling to balance. "You got this." She's not just teaching them how to skateboard. She's also teaching them about kindness, respect, and the importance of standing up for what's right. She shares her story with them, reminding them that even when bad things happen, they can use their experiences to make the world a better place. The skate park has become a symbol of unity and inclusion, a place where children can come together to learn, grow, and support each other. Maya's legacy extends far beyond her advocacy work and her connection to the president. She has become a role model for young people everywhere, showing them that they can overcome adversity and make a positive impact on their communities. She promotes kindness, respect, and the power of skateboarding, proving that even a simple passion can change the world. And she is known for her skateboarding skills.